Trying to be doing that bullshit.
All right, Rob, I'm fresh back off the Fully Loaded tour with Bert Kreischer.
Harry Krishna.
We had a lot of fun. Lawrenceville, Georgia, Bristol, Tennessee. That we had to postpone the last show in that was in where the fuck was it? It was in Brandon, Mississippi. Because there was a lightning for hours. It wouldn't stop. So that show is postponed until September 2nd. And we'll be back in Brandon, Mississippi, September 2nd. Your tickets are still good if you already have tickets. And if you don't, you can go buy tickets for that right now. This weekend, okay, the one I really been so excited about because I'm going to be at the MGM Grand Arena with the prolific Hans Kim, the Golden Pony, Tony Hinchcliffe, the great and powerful Joe Rogan, and myself. We're going to be dressed to the nines and dropping fire on you hoes. Come out to MGM Grand Arena this weekend, July 1st. And July 2nd, I'm going to be at the UFC Vegas event. You know, Adesanya versus Cannonier. It's going to be fucking epic. I've been waiting on this weekend for a long time. So here we are. That's what we got going on. You also, right after that, so 15th and 16th, I'm going to be in Hartford, Connecticut at the Hartford Funny Bone. Get tickets to that. Go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com. BS Comedian on all socials. Come fuck with us. Yeah, Rob. So what's going on in the news that we missed this week? I've been ripping and running, but this article is kind of crazy, right? Slain. This headline is just the headline is crazy. Slain, died. LAPD officer was beaten in training meant to simulate a mob, mother claims. A 32-year-old Los Angeles police officer who suffered fatal neck injuries during a department training last month had been getting beaten by other officers in an exercise meant to simulate a mob, according to a wrongful death claim filed against the city by his mother. Officer Houston Tipping suffered a spinal cord injury during the May 26 training at the police academy in Elysian Park and died 3 days later. He was laid to rest Wednesday during a large funeral attended by LAPD Chief, who gives a fuck, Michael Moore, and other police leaders, and Mayor Eric Garcetti. You know, none of these people don't give a fuck. Nope. Tipping's mother, Shirley Huffman, attended the funeral but did not speak at it. She filed her notice of claim against the city Friday, alleging wrongful death, assault and battery, and other civil rights violations. Such claims are often a precursor to lawsuits. Huffman alleged her son was repeatedly struck in the head severely enough that he bled, and that the beating resulted in injuries requiring stitches. He also suffered multiple breaks in his neck, which caused his death, the claim said. Huffman also alleged that the training exercise had already been questioned before Tipping was hurt because of injuries suffered by other officers. Captain Kelly Muniz, an LAPD spokesman, said Friday that the department could not comment on the claim, of course not, or the nature of the training exercise, but she said the department is taking the matter seriously and has launched its own investigation. Guys, we're right back at it. We just talked about this last week. They're investigating themselves. What do you think the result of that investigation is going to be, Rob?
I think they're probably going to find that there was no wrongdoing done by the LAPD.
I think they're going to find that the department is not at fault.
Nothing to see here.
They followed all procedures, and this death was a complete total accident. Yeah, of course.
Just completely accidentally cracked his skull open and shattered his spine in multiple places.
Yeah.
You know how that happens.
Yeah, and they want you to know that they're taking the complaint very seriously. None of the complaints before that. Just this one. If there are any charges that need to be made or lessons that need to be learned. Okay. It is tragic, and we're all saddened by his loss, Muniz said of Tipping, a 5-year veteran of the force. The LAPD has said Tipping was injured while grappling with an officer and described his death as a horrible accident, but has provided few other details.
grappling with an officer, meaning that this is their training. This is what they think they're supposed to get like their reps in on how to deal with protesters.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know people that grapple on a daily basis. I know people that have gotten hurt grappling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, judo, but I don't know any of them that have broken their neck in several places. You know, just a little accident, it's a little trip.
Yep.
Yeah, because it also says the training was to imitate a mob. So how he end up grappling with one motherfucker? Who knows?
I think we know what's really going on.
Huffman's claim calls for unspecified financial compensation as well as punitive damages from the city. It also called for the city to preserve all evidence in the matter, including videos of the entire training session and actions taken against Officer Tipping. Well, that ain't gonna fucking happen.
Nope.
Oh, no. What do you bet that they're gonna find some kind of way to say, this training is proprietary, or some footage can't be shown because security risks and all this other shit.
They're not going to do that. They're just going to say, we lost it.
Yeah, we lost it. It was damaged.
We lost it.
It was damaged. Rob, you work in audio visual, right?
Yeah.
How often is footage just completely lost or damaged?
It very rarely happens. I'm not going to say it never ever happens.
Well, let me ask you something. How often have you lost footage after you just beat the shit out of somebody or killed
that
them?
has never happened.
It seems like those, and I'm just saying, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. It just so happens that whenever there's a potential crime, that or maybe that's something that I don't understand about technology. Maybe crimes cause electronics to malfunction.
Maybe they're electromagnetic. Maybe it erases the tapes
or something. Yeah, maybe maybe crimes. Okay, yeah, that's. I can't. I don't have to keep reading it. Y'all know what this is. This is the benefit of being older, right? Young people hate it when you point out that they're young. Mm-hmm. Like being young isn't already an advantage. But they hate it when you point out that they're young because they really have no response because they're not old enough. It's certain things where. And it's not to say there aren't young people that are wise or whatever. That
sure.
Usually they've been traumatized.
Yeah.
But
when somebody tells you that you're wise beyond your years, that means they're clocking your adverse childhood experiences.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
Childhood events.
But it's like there are certain things that you have to have just been alive long enough to see repeat. Before, you know what I'm saying? There's certain lessons that you can't really internalize, like elections. That's why a lot of old folks are cynical about politics and stuff like that because they've been alive long enough to see, multiple Democratic presidents not do anything that they promised. They've been alive long enough to see multiple Republican presidents behave the same way. It's like, and so it's different when it becomes a cycle. You know what I mean? Like when Obama ran. And it was the hope change. Motherfucker, I was so hype. Let me tell you, I was in the streets, nigga. I was knocking on doors in Virginia, which flipped blue, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about so many angry people slamming doors in your face. Take me off your fucking list. I ain't give a fuck. We was caught up. The fever was. And you know who really wasn't? Old people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've seen this before. And I'm like, fuck you, old person. You don't get it. You don't get what's happening. This is different. It's like, it's not different.
My generation's different. And we're not.
And I only bring that up because it's like, it's a shame because even if you're young now, you've seen enough of this to know how this is going to turn out. If anything, they might pick one person to throw under the bus. They might fire, or not even. They might even just suspend somebody with pay. Right now they're just investigating. Usually they suspend someone with pay pending the investigation. This one, they haven't pinned it on anybody in particular.
I think they're just going to say that this training was provided by a private company that we contract it out to, and we have terminated that contract. And then, of course, they're just going to get the exact same crap from somebody else who's like an ex-cop who has some bullshit training system.
Yep.
So my question is, I think that this is probably one of three things happened. You can tell me if you think which one of these you think it is, or if it's maybe something else. I think the one that looks the best for the cops, and still looks terrible, but looks the best for the cops, is this is some terrible training exercise that they have done in the past and injured people in the past, and they just don't give a shit, and shit got out of hand, and they beat this dude to death, and it was an accident. Number two, he's like the one clean cop, and they had to get rid of his ass, and so training accident is a pretty good way to do that. Mm-hmm. Three, this was an initiation into an LAPD gang, and again, they went a little off the rails with it.
Why can't it be all of the above?
And maybe it's all the above. I don't know.
Again, if you've been in any kind of, because the LAPD, if you've been in any kind of macho environment, mm-hmm. the military, a sports team, whatever, you know what this was. This was definitely, there is no doubt in my mind, this was hazing of some sort.
Right.
Hazing disguised as training. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If other cops had gotten hurt and no one cares, it's when no one cares about someone getting hurt, it's because it's a tradition or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And even if they say stop it, I remember.
There were reports against of this happening in the past. It was just nobody died,
right?
But people were getting injured and shit.
When I was in the service, a tradition was, at least in the Marines. So when you become a non-NCO, a non-commissioned officer, so when mm-hmm. you reach E4, you get to, you see the Marine uniform and it's black or navy blue up top and real blue on the pants are blue.
Right.
But once you're a non-commissioned officer, there's a red stripe down your pants.
Right.
And I forget what they called it. But so when you picked up E4, so the tradition would be like you would have somebody you respect take off your old chevrons and put on your new ones, right? And they were little pins that stuck through them. And the old tradition is everybody would walk by and fucking bang on them shits, and they would fucking poke you in the thing. And I guess somebody would, maybe somebody died or something like that, but they weren't allowed to do it anymore, and we still did it.
Yeah.
It was one of the things where it was like, well, you're given the option to do it, so if you're a pussy, then you don't have to do it. It was that kind of thing.
You're not a pussy, are you?
Yeah. If you're not a fucking little bitch,
you're not a fucking bitch, are you?
Don't feel bad at all. No pressure. So it's like,
well, that's the same shit with the Supreme Court case that just came out with the coach who was like kneeling in prayer at the 50-yard line. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I vaguely heard about this. They were trying to say it's not
wasn't coercive.
It wasn't coercive.
And it's like, motherfucker, have you ever been on a football team?
Right. It's like, and the truth is, I don't. If you had said this, if you had told me that story 2 weeks ago, I would have went, who gives a fuck? This isn't important. But if the Roe v. Wade ruling has taught us anything, it's that we can't ignore the little incremental shit. Mm-hmm. Which, let's talk about that too, the elephant in the room, the Roe v. Wade thing. But it's weird to me because a lot of people argue that that this is different from Second Amendment shit because the word abortion is not in the Constitution. What a disingenuous fucking argument.
Yeah.
Things don't have to be explicitly mentioned in the Constitution. I mean, there's a bunch of shit that ain't mentioned in the Constitution that the law still has to apply to. Cell phone isn't in the Constitution. Airplane isn't in the Constitution. Trans isn't in the Constitution. Gay isn't in the Constitution.
Internet is not in the Constitution.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is not in the Constitution. So it's like that. If your line of reasoning is that anything that is not explicitly mentioned, that's wild. Plus, and I forget the term, and you may know this, Rob. Rob's a lawyer, by the way. Did y'all know that? Now you know.
We've mentioned before.
So I forget what the term is, but the Constitution is a X document, meaning that the Constitution is it's exclusionary. So the Constitution is not a document that lists your rights. It is a document that lists the powers that the government has. And anything that is not, any power that is not explicitly given to the government in the Constitution is considered yours. So your right doesn't have to be written into the Constitution, because if you notice, all the amendments start with the government shall. The government shall not X, right? And people that have, because most people have not actually read any of the amendments, but it's like, the Constitution is a list of the powers that the government has specifically, and it's gotten a little rocky over the years, things they've assumed that they can do, but it's supposed to be powers that are not explicitly given to the government are to the people. It's assumed. Right, so I just think that's a shitty argument. I mean, feel however you want to feel about things, but people nowadays are so willing to be intellectually inconsistent, when it's convenient. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So and I don't even know what it's going to look like. And here's the other thing too. I don't know if a lot, because again, this is one of those things that I just think people just haven't been alive long enough, right? But abortion wasn't banned. Mm-hmm. Safe abortion was banned. There have been abortions since the beginning of civilization. Mm-hmm. They were dangerous and illegal. And you know how Roe v. Wade, you know how this got pushed through the first time? It's because it was enough. Because here's what's going to happen. Rich, very, very, very rich people are going to still have access to safe abortions. They're still going to be, probably in some, in an ice cream parlor or something, but it's going to be an actual doctor that's done it before, that blah, 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 blah. And
it's just going to go to their family friend that they went to Harvard with, who can still do it on the side, and they can fly their 16-year-old daughter who got knocked up over to Connecticut so she can go get it done.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? What ends up happening is that line starts blurring. Because this is we've been through this before. Mm-hmm. And what happens is there's the upper middle class people, the people that flex like they got money, but they really just in crippling debt and shit like that. Right? People that make over $100,000, not rich, but also they are going to be in these conundrums again. Because some of these same people are the ones that wanted this to happen, but they're going to be in these conundrums because they live in this world of absolutes where they think that this isn't going to affect them. Oh, my daughter ain't fucking. My daughter ain't out here giving the cheeks to nobody. You know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, your daughter go have some fucking scholarship and she gonna come up pregnant. And what you gonna do? You gonna send her ass to go stay with family, and she gonna come back with a sister. You know what I mean? Or a niece, right? Or you gonna go down to the ice cream parlor and cross your fingers.
We'll take care of the problem.
Yeah, something's gonna go wrong.
Lots of, especially white Republican women who have had abortions. Their abortions in their mind don't count.
Oh yeah.
They are excluded from that. It's other people are whores and fools.
Right. Other people are whores and fools and demons. And here's the other side of it, too. This isn't the same as before. It's worse. And this may be, and this might bite me in the ass saying this, but whatever. This may be the only cultural war issue that is actually worse than it. Like this might be the only issue that we're repeating again. Mm-hmm. That's a cultural war issue that is a worse circumstance than before, right? It's like, we can debate about slavery and civil rights and all of that other stuff, but racial things are getting better. We can debate about, gun laws and all this other stuff, but gun violence is down compared to, 70 years ago or whatever.
Sure.
And we can debate about abortion and all that other stuff, but this is a worse environment than it was before, because before abortions were happening, before Roe v. Wade, abortions were happening, secretly and dangerously and so forth. But now we're in this new environment where it's actually illegal, where there's a penalty to the women and anyone that's helped them in some of these places, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is another issue in which we are much worse off now than we were before, and that is the level of the surveillance state in the United States. The amount of information that the government can get on you and your private activities, your private thoughts, the groups that you belong to, the people that you interact with, the things that you buy, the things that you search for, and when you combine that with, for instance, this Roe v. Wade thing, I don't know if you saw the whole thing, but people saying, delete your period tracking apps. A lot of women have period tracking apps.
I know, that's nonsense. That's not going to help you.
No, it won't help you, but I'm just saying that,
right.
But it won't help you because the surveillance state doesn't
right.
need that shit.
It's because they can tell, because you heard the story, this was before it was this level, right? Like 5-6 years ago, remember the story of the dad that he found out his daughter was pregnant because Target was sending him. They
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, because they collect your data. So they basically, Google can tell by what you've been searching and who you've been following and what you've been listening to. Like they combine all that, and they know everyone that's done these things is pregnant. So they'll send you'll start seeing ads for bassinets and shit, even though you never searched for one.
Right.
It's that. So it's like they know when you're pregnant just based on what your daily activities.
Right.
So I'm almost positive that now they can tell also by the activities of the people around you.
Yes.
So it's this is about to become a very, very, this is a powder keg for the future. 5 years from now, I don't know exactly what the situation is going to be, but something unbelievable is going to happen. Well, it's also they're gonna. This is not just an erosion of reproductive rights. This is an erosion of privacy rights, and I mean I think that reproductive rights affect everybody, but privacy rights definitely affect everybody because they will use this as a way to get more information about their own citizens. They will use the argument, same thing what they're doing in Texas, where they're trying to get information about people's travel plans to make sure that they're not leaving Texas to go get an abortion. It's like that right there is how they do it. We just talked about this on another podcast, but China, one of the reasons why China outlaws porn is because then they can use the fact that a website might have pornography on it as an excuse to shut it down, censor it, investigate it, etc. Yeah, but also but Texas doesn't have regulatory authority outside of Texas, right?
Right, but they can make it illegal for you to aid somebody in getting out of Texas, going to another state to get an abortion, and then so they can't go to Oklahoma and arrest you. But if you live in Texas and you pay for somebody's bus ticket for them to go out of state, they can make that illegal because you're doing that in Texas.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a stretch.
Oh, right? Yeah. I mean,
it's a legal stretch because you don't know what the fuck I'm going out of state for. Who cares what? Unless they can say.
Well, but that's where the surveillance comes in because that's when they get your text messages or they track your ISP and they figure out, or your IP address rather, and they figure out which website you've been going to, where did you stay where did this woman stay when she went to that other state, who did she pay? There's all kinds of things where they can build a case against you. Because people get convicted of shit they didn't do all the time.
And here's the other thing too. Listen, y'all, regardless of where you fall ideologically, I'm a firm believer in listen, the best way to run a society, or let me rephrase that. The worst way to run a society is to try to control human behavior. like you're going against the grain in a way. You know, it's like the music industry and the movie industry. They've learned this lesson, right? Where they wasted all this money trying to stop people from downloading shit. And now they figured out, oh, if we just, for like a small fee, people will pay us to see the shit clearly from their computer. Oh, no shit. Right? It's like you know, places, they want to make weed illegal even though most of the people smoke weed. They want to make abortion illegal even though they know it's going to happen anyway. All you're doing is criminalizing your citizens. Abortion is not going to stop. It's just going to be underground.
But Brian, why would a country like the United States try to criminalize, make a felony, things that they know certain segments of the population engage in regularly?
So they can have slavery. So they can have unpaid labor in prisons.
And so they can take away your right to vote.
Take away your right to vote. Yeah, that's a big one. Women didn't somewhere it's California, right? Didn't we just give felons their right to vote back?
We took a step towards it. It's not complete. And then also was it Florida or Georgia, where I believe it was Florida, where they passed a referendum to reinstate the right to vote for certain felons. But I believe that got, there's just some bullshit around that, and they have gone against the will of the people in that instance, and they have decided not to re-enfranchise felons in Florida. I believe it was Florida. I'll look it up right now just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Florida.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know how I feel about it. Because here's what's so funny. The vast majority of the men I know that are sexually active have benefited from an abortion occurring. Whether they paid for it or paid half or drove somebody or insisted or talked some girl into it, most of the men I know have avoided having children that they didn't want to have because a woman had an abortion. So it's like, it's not just a woman issue for me anyway. I mean, because here's the truth. Here's what we know is true. Upward mobility is limited as it is. And I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I know that whatever your chance of upward mobility is, and by upward mobility, what I mean is, you know, you start out poor, dirt poor. Upward mobility means that, you know, before you die, you're lower class, or you start lower class. Before you die, you middle class, or before you die, you rich. So just climbing the ladder of socioeconomic status. And it's almost impossible, right? The research has shown that that wherever you start, whatever class you start as, you usually die as, right? But there's a chance. It's not zero. You know, it's like 10%, 15%, whatever it is. But
there's different ways to cook the numbers
right.
and say what it is, because you can chop up the different classes in different
and
ways.
It's certainly possible to like get a degree or start a hit business or whatever. But the point is, the moment you have a child, that shit ceases. The moment you have a child, your chances of upward mobility fucking plummet. In fact, your chances of dropping will increase. It's especially if you're underage. So it's like not controlling when you can have children is there's a straight line from that and your ability to survive or to thrive. So and you know, that's not deniable. Like, it's undeniable. When the moment Roe v. Wade went through, it's like women's socioeconomical climbing ability increased. It's like just from the ability to control when I can have a kid, that controls. Because think about it. Say you got a scholarship to go to college, and you get pregnant at prom. Now you're not going to college. You got to take care of a baby. You know what I'm saying? Or you get a job offer in another state, and you finna move, but now you got to have a baby. Now you don't have the money to move. Having a baby is so fucking owning. Raising a child is so fucking expensive. It's like it literally freezes you in place economically. So that so I feel like
it's expensive and it's dangerous.
Yeah, and even if I took them at their face value, which I don't, that it's just up to the states. It's like, no, motherfucker. These motherfuckers don't want it to be up to the states. They want it illegal everywhere. They going from state to state to state trying to push that shit.
Oh, right. I mean, but that's all. That's what always happens. It's when there's a federal either ban or a federal restriction from banning it, then the person who's on the other side always says, well, we want to leave it up to the states' rights, which I would like to point out, states' rights was originally the argument for slavery. But then once they remove the restriction,
and it worked, by the way.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the argument. It worked.
Yeah. And then it goes to the states. Then all of a sudden, all the people who were saying it should go to the states, now there needs to be a federal ban.
Right. But I'm saying, even if I took them at their face value, that they would leave it alone. That it would just, okay, whatever states want it 50-50, half. The problem with that is, because that's the thing, abortions are not federally illegal. Right?
Right.
It's not like weed where like the federal government is going to come in and bust up abortion labs or whatever. But it's like, even if I took them at their word, it's like, I think the states that have severely restricted it, like, they're going to suffer, as a result. The people the poverty, there's going to be more people frozen in poverty. There's going to be more people dependent on the social programs, and it's just so short-sighted to me. So you can have some kind of moral, I don't know.
I don't know what they get out of it.
They get to feel righteous,
I guess.
They feel like they feel like they've saved a child.
I mean, part of it is that a lot of white people don't want white women to be able to get abortions because they're afraid of they're worried about the white birth rate. So it's all connected. Poverty, racism, reproductive choice, it's all connected, and it's all about controlling people.
Yeah.
So just to recap, people, the voting rights restoration effort in Florida. This has been a long time. People have been trying to do this. Eventually, 2018, 65% of Florida voters approved Amendment 4, which automatically restored voting rights to as many as 1.4 million Floridians, except those convicted of murder or a felony sexual offense. So that's the types of felonies that they still can't vote, but other felonies, other people who have been convicted of other felonies did have their right to vote restored. However, on June 28, 2019, Governor Ron DeSantis, this motherfucker, signed Senate Bill 7066, prohibiting returning citizens from voting unless they pay off all legal financial obligations, LFOs, imposed by a court pursuant to a felony conviction, including LFOs converted to civil obligations, even if they cannot afford to pay. So, what they did was to prevent people from being reenfranchised. They cooked up this scheme whereby they would give you these mystery bills, and in a lot of cases, people either couldn't pay them or they couldn't even find.
What do you mean mystery bill? Do you mean what were they saying the bill was?
Well, first issue was that a lot of people couldn't even get valid information about what money they supposedly owed. Other people would get a bill and they might pay it, but then they'd say, like, "Oh, you still have an outstanding balance. You still have these other obligations that you haven't met." And then some other people got a bill and they just couldn't pay it. So it was just a mechanism to go around Amendment 4 by making it so that it's not dissimilar to like cash bail, which they're trying to reinstitute in California now, which is a horrible practice where you're basically forced to give up your rights because you don't have the ability to pay.
Yeah, dude. How are we going backwards? It's incredible. It's incredible.
You got to read some Ray Dalio.
All right, let's let's move on to something more light before
Sure.
the end of the world or whatever. World Cup sex ban. As horny fans warn one night stands can lead to 7 years in jail. A World Cup sex ban is effectively in place during the tournament in conservative Qatar, or Qatar, some people call it, where those caught frolicking with anyone other than their spouse face a 7-year jail term. Why are you out there frolicking with somebody other than your spouse?
Well, no, I believe that even if you're single, you can't have sex with somebody else.
Boozy bunk-ups are officially banned at the tournament, which starts in November, with FIFA officials warning there will be no exceptions made. Then why have the World Cup in a country where you can't fuck?
Money.
This is what I'm talking, like, this is, why are conservatives, I mean, they call this country a conservative country. I mean, why are y'all obsessed with other people fucking? Why are you obsessed with who fucking who? This doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you hold the biggest soccer tournament in the world in a country where it's illegal to fuck? Because here's the thing, people gon' fuck. You can't stop people from fucking. Slaves fucked. Think about the most horrible condition. You on a slave ship, packed in like cargo. You stacked up 5, 6, 9 bodies deep. People's piss and shit is dripping on you, and you're still fucking. You can't stop people from fucking. You can't. So all you're doing is essentially you're making it so fans of people either not going to the World Cup or you're going to arrest half your fans. You think people ain't fucking you? You think people ain't fucking the World Cup? This is insane to me. It's like saying no fucking at the Olympics. We're going to have the Olympics in Qatar? We already know that the Olympic Village burns through more condoms in that little, 2.5 month time span? Yeah. They burn through more condoms in that little, in 10 weeks than the whole city of New York in 6 months or something crazy.
Didn't they try? Now, I've heard conflicting things about this. I heard that because of COVID, when was it Tokyo that just had the Olympics recently?
Mm-hmm.
At the Tokyo Olympics, they had they were trying to tamp down on people fucking because they didn't want everybody to get COVID in the Olympic bubble, right? And
impossible.
Yeah, impossible. I heard that they had these beds that were made so that you couldn't fuck on them. But then I also saw something where there was an Olympian who was like he's like jumping on the bed and showing that you could. So maybe that's bullshit.
Yeah, but even if the beds was spikes, people don't gotta fuck on the bed. People will fuck on the floor.
I'm pretty sure Olympians can fuck on the floor. They can probably fuck in a lot of places.
People will fuck on the floor, in the closet, lean up against the wall, on the toilet. You can't stop humans from fucking. You put a large group of humans together, people fucking. You put people in a room with somebody they are not even remotely attracted to for long enough, and they gonna fuck. That's just human nature. And instead of going against human nature, it's like, if anything, I feel like you shouldn't have the World Cup in this country if ain't gonna be no fucking allowed.
Not to mention, they had to reschedule it to November because of climate change. It's so fucking hot in Qatar in the summer that they had to move it to the fucking winter.
The police source says sex is very much off the menu. Unless you're coming as a husband and wife team, there definitely will be no one-night stands at this tournament. Yes, there will. Yes, there will, you fucking stupid idiot. I can't wait. I hope everybody, not only do they fuck, I hope they all save up their jizz and just toss it on the field and refuse to play. I hope they fuck immediately and just cover the field in jizz and whatever that stuff is that comes out when women squirt. It's still up for debate. Some people say it's urine. But that's the point is, I want buckets of it. I want buckets of it everywhere. This kind of shit infuriates me. It's like the world is run by idiots, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, to be honest with you.
Why does Qatar have so much money? Is it oil?
I mean, I think it's oil, but I'm not sure. I can't even speculate. I don't even know why anybody would want to go there. I don't even know how the World Cup happened there. Qatar was, when I was deployed, Qatar was the place that you went when you got, I think, like, because like everybody got like 2 days of vacation,
Uh-huh.
and they would send you to Qatar, for 2 days or whatever. And I ended up not getting mine. Why did I not get mine?
Oh, dude, here's why it's in Qatar. So first off, Qatar is so wealthy because petrochemicals, obviously.
Okay.
They used to be nothing. Now they're the richest country in the world because they have a tiny population and they have all these petrodollars. But the reason why it's in Qatar is because Switzerland has announced a criminal investigation into the awarding of the 2022 World Cup to Qatar. This is an article from several years ago, so I'm sure there's been updates in that. But once again, this is people investigating themselves, obviously. But FIFA officials were recently back then, so this is 7 years old. But FIFA officials were indicted in a $150 million bribery scandal in connection with the selection of South Africa as the host country for the 2010 World Cup. So it's just corrupt officials. They just Qatar pays them because this is a jewel in their cap to have the World Cup in Qatar.
And when is the World Cup?
November. Well, it's November this year because it's too fucking hot.
We should lead the charge on getting people to not watch that shit.
Good luck. They don't give a fuck
Like,
about.
they ban fucking.
If
we can't listen, we let abortion slip through the cracks. If we can't draw the line at fucking, we don't deserve rights and freedom. If we can't band together for this issue, how will we ever be united about anything? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't give a fuck if you're a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, black, white, Asian, Latino. I don't give a fuck if you conservative, Democrat, liberal, Green Party, if you an extremist, everybody fuck. That's the one universal thing we're gonna always all have in common. It's fucking. And so we can't defend fucking. We're doomed. We're lost. Right?
I agree.
At least in the United States, we should be able to not watch soccer.
This is a sacrifice that we're willing to be the heroes here.
I don't know. I feel like this is some kind of movement got to take place just to show that like we could band together for something. What do we all even give a fuck about anymore? If we're so divided, is there any issue? Because I bet you, you know what? I would say that I don't think you could politicize this, but I bet you could.
Oh yeah.
These spin doctors are so fucking scummy and good at it that like they could probably find a way to make, they could find a way to make it political. Because
you can fuck if you are a husband and wife who go to Qatar. So of course they can make it political because that's easy.
God damn, you're right. God damn, you're right.
Yeah, fucking's a right. It's just only a right for people who are married.
Is fucking a right? Because fucking is not in the Constitution.
That's true.
It is not mentioned in the Constitution.
Well,
if you have a right to fuck, is that what you're saying, Rob?
I'm saying you do have a right to fuck because nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you can't fuck. And when you combine the 10th,
but I feel like we need to make that an amendment. Just to be like, Congress shall pass no law
abridging the right to fuck.
Abridging the right to fuck. That need to be our next joint. Then off that, we hit him with the abortion joint. We come, hey, what a result of fucking this. Okay, you know what? We should wrap this up. I'm getting too worked up because I feel like I'm about to say something.
Let's end on something that's positive.
Super ignorant. Something positive? Rob, I don't know if you know, if you see this list of stories you sent me, none of them are positive.
Houston has solved the homelessness problem.
Oh, well, okay.
With the genius idea of giving people fucking homes.
I saw Houston homeless reform, and then I saw something about a hoe union.
Oh, the hoe union. That's kind of old news.
A union of hoes. Okay. Well, let's look at the Houston. How Houston moved 25,000 people from the streets into homes. The nation's fourth largest city. I did not know that Houston was the fourth largest city.
It's big as fuck, man.
Okay. This isn't giving me information. It's just telling a fucking story.
Yeah, I'll lay it out. Yeah, they wrote this asshole.
I hate how they write.
Christopher,
I hate when people write like this.
Michael Kimmelman.
Listen, this article is supposed to be about how Houston solved the homeless problem, and let me tell y'all, audience, the first words of this article are one steamy morning last July. Fuck out of here, man. Tell me who, what, when, why, and how. I don't need to know. You're not writing a fucking novel. He's telling me the setting of the interview.
I'll give you the spoiler version. The spoiler version is basically they gave people homes.
Yeah. What a fascinating concept.
They just gave people places to live.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that the city of Houston decided that they could solve the homeless problem by giving people somewhere to live?
That's correct.
Holy shit. And how can they afford such a thing?
Well, you know what?
Did they take the money that was being embezzled through homeless shelters and use that to actually help homeless people?
Well, what they found is that it actually costs a lot of money to enforce all of the rules and regulations.
Fuck out of here.
That keep people out of homes.
Wow.
So if you give somebody a place to live without testing them for drugs or requiring them to pay their debts, then you actually save money. Because it's cheaper to house people than it is to enforce bullshit laws against them that say that they can't live somewhere.
Wow. Yeah, it's almost like other places put the appeasement of the housed over the well-being and humanity of the unhoused. That's kind of crazy.
Wild.
Yeah,
that should be our next. So we need a new Bill of Rights, right? One is housing, abortion, and fucking.
Yep. We need to add some amendments. Housing, abortion, and fucking is right up there. Fucking first.
Well, that's the one that we can get 80% of the country to agree to that one. So,
but that, you know what? Honestly, that's sad. It should be 100. Everybody should be pro-fucking because everybody done fucked. Actually, that's not true. Everybody that's ever got laid should be pro-fucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and even if you don't fuck, which that's your choice, even if you don't fuck, and that's your preference, you got here through fucking.
And we solved a lot of problems today, Rob. I mean, we talked about abortion. We talked about whether fucking is in the Constitution. We've talked about the World Cup.
LAPD training,
which is going swell. And I mean, one death for no good reason is not the worst thing that could have happened. We'll see y'all again. Go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com for tickets to the tour. Maybe I'll see you in Vegas at the MGM Grand Arena this weekend. If not, next weekend in Hartford, Connecticut, or weekend after next. Or if not, September 2nd in Brandon, Mississippi for the redo of the end of the Fully Loaded tour. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. See y'all next time.